All right, we are back. Welcome back to the very best podcast recording from the very end of the bench. My name's Colin Giordano,
My name's Emiliano Lara.
and let's get to it, man. So we'll start off with our reserves recap.
Whoa,
So,
whoa, 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 whoa. We have video.
oh, we do have video. Had me thinking I messed up or something. Oh, dang.
We have video.
We do have video, so look out for our YouTube channel coming out very soon with all these great videos with their great faces.
That's right. That's right. And don't mind the backgrounds for now. We're still working out the kinks with this work from home life and not being able to record together in person. So uh,
Pandemic podcast.
you've got some Zoom backgrounds for you for the short future. But I apologize. Cut you off. Please continue.
Yeah, anyways, the the reserves recap. So normally we'll go over the past games that have happened over the course of the week since the last recording, but a couple things have happened. So Billy Donovan hired as the Bulls head coach. What do you think of that?
I mean, I think that it's good for the Bulls. I think that having a coach that has, I think, experience with both, the young players that have come through the Thunder, as well as having a veteran leader like Chris Paul. Kind of, he's going to provide a lot of great perspective for a player like Zach Levine, Lauri Markkanen. Um, the Bulls are in a weird situation. Like they have enough talent to where like they should really be like in the 6 to 8 seed battle every single year in the East. Um, they're a team that definitely perplexes me for sure because I really see them as such a talented team. They're honestly kind of similar to the Kings, where like you look at their young talent and you look at their roster and you know you wonder, man, why aren't these guys in the playoffs? What's going on with this organization? So I really think that Billy Donovan is like the big name coach that they need to really push this franchise forward. I have on here, what are our immediate predictions? For me, I'm saying playoffs first year. I won't necessarily put a record prediction on it because I think we still don't know what the NBA season is going to look like next year. But I say plus 500 potentially, and in the playoffs in the first year, barring no big injuries.
Yeah, and that's been the biggest thing with the Bulls. You compared them to the Kings, and much like the Kings, they had a lot of injuries this year. Wendell Carter Jr. went down with an injury. Lauri Markkanen went down. Otto Porter went down. It was just like injury after injury for them. And it's like you can't make up any ground when like your main prospects and pieces at one, you need to win, and two, you need to grow them and continue them to develop as players. Like that can't happen if they're sitting on the end of the bench. And we can relate to that with Marvin Bagley, of course.
Yep.
Um, but it's an interesting hire for sure. I thought Billy Donovan was going to go somewhere more along the lines of Philly. I think he has some questions in terms of being a head coach because he was always kind of gifted like a playoff ready team. I know all the professionals out there said that the Thunder weren't going to make the playoffs, but like I said from the beginning, like if you look at that roster, like veteran leadership in Chris Paul, Steven Adams, Gallinari, SGA, young talent, Schroeder off the bench, like they were they were going to make the playoffs. Like I don't care what anyone says, but he's never really had like a young team that's had struggles. Like he came in immediately had Katie and Russell Westbrook. It's like he's always had a star on his team that can carry the team. So I'm interested to see what direction that he takes franchise in terms of like the coaching decisions. And two, I wonder if this means that there's going to be some moves in store for the Bulls. Like, are they going to try to trade a Zach Levine or Lauri Markkanen this offseason and try to push to get a star in there?
See, I don't know. See, I almost think that this points towards the opposite. That maybe they're not going to shake things up roster wise. Like maybe they believe that a coach is what they're missing. The
Yeah.
proper coaching staff is what they're
I only
missing.
say that because one of the reasons why he wanted to leave the Thunder was because he didn't want to go towards the youth rebuild.
I
Like
see.
he wanted to be in the playoffs, like gunning for a playoff spot every year. So that's the only reason why I say that. You might be right. Maybe it was just like, a situation for him to go into a big market, Chicago Bulls obviously, and be the potential coach to bring them back to like the saving grace, like from the days where they had Derrick Rose. So I mean, it could go either way. Like you said, there's a lot of uncertainties this year, not only when it comes to league-wide moves and hires, but just everything collectively. Like no one knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, Billy Donovan, head coach of the Bulls. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Uh, besides that, there's been some rumblings.
Yes.
Philly. There's been some rumors of Mike D'Antoni in Philly, which right off the bat, how does that make any sense? Like
No, I
pace and space, and then you're gonna have Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. Like, how does that work?
no, you're going to go from potentially the greatest three-point shooting in terms of volume, the highest volume three-point shooting team, in recent memory. I mean, I think the numbers even support that they were a higher volume three-point shooting team than the Warriors. And you take that to Philly, which is like the biggest team in the NBA and doesn't really have that much to support a large three-point shooting volume. So, I mean, their number one player is Ben Simmons, and the crowd went crazy when he made his first three ever.
When
So,
three,
yeah.
like it hadn't
So,
even gone in yet. It left his fingers, and the crowd was like, "Yeah!" Like,
yeah, I don't know if that one makes any sense at all. I mean, I think that you go from a coach like Brett Brown, who, I mean, you hear that name, and I think an average NBA, viewer would be like, "Ah, Brett Brown, that sounds familiar." So, I kind of feel like Philly's in the space of, they're kind of like the LA Rams right now, and comparing it to football, where they just need big names, to keep themselves relevant. Um, in their eyes. And I really do think that, like, this whole trusting the process thing might still kind of be like what they're hinging their future on. It's like, no, 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 trust us. Like we're just one piece away, or we're the right coach away. Um, I don't know, man. Maybe they're bringing Mike D'Antoni in to see if like he can kind of like bring something out of Ben Simmons. Like I, I don't know. I don't know. That one doesn't make any sense to me, especially with all the coaches that I think are going to be available this offseason. I don't know. If I'm Philly, I'm waiting to see if Doc Rivers is going to be available. That's what I'm doing if I'm Philly. I'm waiting to see that for sure Doc Rivers is coming back. He has a contract in place for the future. I'm waiting to see if for sure Greg Popovich is coming back and he's got a contract for the future. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me.
yeah, I mean, Vladdy's available.
If
I
Vladi goes on to coach a different team, all right, here's an ultimatum for everyone listening and watching on YouTube now. If Vladi goes on to coach another team and makes the playoffs for the Kings, we will never record another episode of the Reserves podcast. We will
don't-
retire immediately.
Well, there you have it. Ultimately, I don't think that's going to be something that comes to fruition. I don't think we'll see D'Antoni in Philly. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me, and I think, like I said, ultimately, I don't think that's something that'll happen. But also, another hire, the Kings hire Monty McNair as the president of basketball operations. So
Yes.
right off the bat, they're bringing someone in from Houston that's, developed a pace and space type system over there. So right off the bat, I like that hire. I'm not opposed to it. Um, Compared to some of the other names that are out there, depending on who you are as a Kings fan, like I don't think it's the worst hire, and I think it's great to bring someone in that's established. He's young, he's 36 years old, but he has a resume, which is like the biggest thing. Like Vlade lacked a resume,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I just like I don't think it's a bad hire from the Kings, like for once.
Yeah. No, and I think that you're not wrong. Um, you know, I think something fresh, and I mean he came right out, and he said he's like, hey, this is my team, this is my position. I think that the name Dumars, is like, what is his title? The assistant GM. But
He's an advisor.
the advisor. But the unfortunate part of that is that he doesn't roll up, to the actual GM. He actually reports directly to Vivek. And, I think that we've touched on it in previous episode that was kind of one of the bigger issues is that, the GM and Vladi didn't actually have complete anonymity to make his own decisions. A lot of the decisions still came kind of down from Vivek in terms of approvals. So really curious to see what happens. I really hope that he actually takes on the team and truly makes his own decisions. And I think that it's honestly time for Vivek to let go of the reins, and it's not working for you. Like whatever you're doing is not working. So you hired somebody new, let him do what he's going to do, and just let the cards fall where they may.
Yeah. Uh, McNair said all the right things in
Yeah.
his interviews that he's had. He was interviewing with KHTK 1140, which is our local sports station for all Kings things, and he said all the right things. Like he showed like promise in our youth. Like he likes the pieces that we have. He thinks that we just need to get it going in the right direction. I don't know. I think that this is the best move that the Kings have made as an organization, like since having Vivek take ownership of the team.
Hmm.
In my opinion, at least, like excluding a De'Aaron Fox draft and things like that. But yeah,
Yeah.
it changes things for this offseason for sure. I think if Vlade would have stayed this offseason, it would have been a lot different.
Yeah. No, we would have seen a lot of things shaken up this offseason. And I think that this hiring potentially points us in the opposite direction. So more to come on that hire later on in the episode, though. But moving on and moving into a recap of a few games or two games here, all that we have left. To just I realized the other day that we're potentially just a one game away from now not having basketball every day of the week, outside of the Milwaukee Bucks boycotting the game, and then the NBA kind of going on a hiatus for those 72 hours. We have had basketball every single day since the bubble started. Think about that. It's
Except for
pretty.
one, there was one Saturday, I think it was last week, where there were no games. There was a skip day.
There was a skip day, and I think that was because of how the semis on either side ended. I think that somehow on how they ended, one team needed the 24-hour wait time, but the other team was ready, and so it kind of it worked itself out to where yeah, there was one day off. But sad times ahead. Although I'm excited for the NBA Finals, sad times ahead that we will no longer have basketball every day of the week.
Yeah. And I mean, speaking about that Miami Heat series, and also touching on Colin's predictions that he always makes, I highlighted Tyler Hero. I think it was 2 or 3 episodes ago. I said that I could see him being a building block for this organization as a scorer.
Yep.
And the Heat had come out and compared him to similar to a Devin Booker, which I thought was a little extreme, but I think last night was kind of like a looking glass situation, like into the future. Like
Hmm.
20 years old, Western Conference Finals, biggest stage possible, like hitting big shot after big shot, like with people like Tatum, Marcus Smart, Jalen Brown guarding him. It's not like it was like some random scrub. It's not like he had a Buddy Hield on him. He had some good defenders on him, and that Celtics team is a great defensive team. And he put up some numbers. I think ultimately he needs some work on the defensive side for sure. I think he finished -2, even though he had 37 points. So a lot of that came on the defensive side of things. But man, that game for him, that just showed us what he has in store for us, I think.
Yeah, no, and I mean, look, players have, I mean, like, look at the insanity, right? Like, players can go off at any given time, and it can be, a fluke, right? But I think that in the conference finals of the playoffs, I think that that's really when you prove yourself. I mean, we see it, time and time again. So many superstars, win an MVP through the regular season, even though they don't deserve it. Which we have not talked about the NBA awards enough, but we see players just run through the regular season, and then when it comes time for the playoffs, they kind of shrivel, in the spotlight. And Tyler Hero has done everything but shrivel in the spotlight. Although this is his biggest game statistically, I mean, he had some big shots this game, but there have been some shots that he's taken, where I'm like, wow, I would not have expected a rookie to have, the cojones to pull up there in that situation. I mean, didn't he have a game winning shot as well? So, I mean, this entire playoffs has just been a proving ground for him, to really cement himself as a mid draft steal, really. I mean, I know he was, in the middle of the first round, but he's really cementing himself as a little bit of a steal that he kind of fell to where he did.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of teams, kicking themselves for not going after him. I think he fell to 12. He was drafted at 12. So, yeah, teams like the Hawks. The Hawks had two potential times to draft him. The Suns, like all of these teams that like could have used someone like him, like didn't pick him up. And I think and even the Kings, we didn't even have our draft pick. Like we would have been slotted at like somewhere around 11 to 13, and that could have been someone that was on our team. But
Yep.
ultimately we didn't have our pick. Enough of the Kings. I'll stop. Um, but yeah, and I feel like this is another thing we talk about too. The Heat with four players scoring over 20 points. And it's not always 20 points, but we hear that a lot. Like the Heat have six players scoring double digits, seven players scoring double digits, and tonight it was four players in or in 20 points. Sorry, but like yeah, like I don't know. It's hard to stop a team where four players are giving you 80 points.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like for the Heat, it could almost be, any four of a combination of like six or seven players. Like throw Jimmy Butler in there every time. But I mean, like Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero. Um, I mean, they're deeper than people think. And last episode we talked about the Celtics doing this. Where like they had four players score 20 points, and then to this episode we're talking about the Heat doing it. And I think that like this is so unfortunate. Like I know I pushed last time that like I want this to be 7 games so bad, but I mean it's truly unfortunate that like it looks like this one might end up in a gentleman's sweep, or even end up in 6 games. Because I really do feel like, I mean, even kind of looking at the Lakers, I really do feel like these two teams might be the best teams left in the playoffs. In terms of like just across the board, talent, chemistry, they are not going, neither of these teams have come into this series wondering what their game plan is. They just, I don't know, this has been a fantastic series. It's unfortunate, like I said, that it could end up finishing up in 5 games.
Yeah, and I feel like we've kind of said everything that needs to be said in terms of these two teams. Like
Yeah.
they're both potentially finals type teams, and it's just I think the better teams ahead right now.
Yep.
The Celtics led in field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and makes, total rebounds, assists, blocks, and the most unfortunate one, they also led in turnovers. I don't know, like
Eh, I mean, I put the turnovers on there because I wanted to ask you a question, and I didn't put the question in there because I wanted to catch your genuine, honest opinion on it. Do you think that the Celtics are still just one season too young?
I don't
Their
think
core.
I think that some shots haven't gone their way. I think Tatum came out a little shaky in that first half. He didn't have a great first half. I think he scored like 26 points or something in the second half alone to make up for that first half. I think if he played consistently throughout that game, the Celtics would have won.
Hmm.
But I don't think it's that they're a year away. I think they realistically could have made the finals this year and still can. Still can.
Still can.
Denver's come back from a 3-1 lead twice, so it's not
Yep.
impossible. But I don't think they're a year away. I think they're here. It's just it hasn't gone their way so far.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, speaking of teams coming back down from 3-1, so keep in mind Denver did this twice this year. But prior to this year, only 11 teams in NBA history have come back from a 3-1 deficit. Couple of the most memorable ones, looking at the list, a lot of them come from, pre 90s, but looking at a couple of the more memorable ones, the 2016 Cavs came back from down 3-1, or should I say the 2016 LeBrons came back down 3-1. And then the Warriors team, the 2016 Warriors, when they really, I think that's when they hit the scene the most, is that 2016 season, 72 wins, and then down 3-1 to the KD Russ Thunder. Fun fact, that was last year that KD and Russ played together on the Thunder. So it's happened before. It's happened to better teams than the Heat, in my opinion. I honestly think that Thunder team in 2016, uh, you know, I believe that they might have been a little bit better than the Warriors that season, and I believe in a 1 game series against this Heat team that Thunder team has taken that. So it's happened to better teams than this Heat team. That's all I'm saying, and I don't want to count the Celtics out yet, and at the very least, I don't want to count out a Game 7. So, but let's hear it. Your final prediction, Colin. After this, you guys won't hear a prediction from us. So, final prediction. What are the Heat doing?
I think that the Heat having four players score 20 points and seeing stat lines from players like Duncan Robinson only having 3 points and a couple of those key role players that that won't replicate again. I think the Heat still close out this series and they're on their way to the finals.
Yeah, and I mean, look, the reason for us calling out, the Celtics led and all those different statistics, excluding turnovers, the Celtics led in all those statistics and lost. Turnovers is a huge deal, and at the end of the day, that's the difference between the 3-point loss and a 3-point win, definitely. But the Heat have the capability to lead in all of those statistics. But I think being led by Jimmy Butler, having Andre Iguodala on that team, I don't think that the Heat have the potential to make as many mental errors as the Celtics do, and that was kind of part of my reason for calling out, are the Celtics 1 year away, because I do think that where the Heat separate themselves from the Celtics are those mental mistakes. So I agree with you. Heat closed it out in Game 5, unfortunately, but I have with my hand behind my back, fingers crossed, that the Celtics take 7 games.
Yeah, I mean, I think we both agree Heat. Um, but moving on to the other game that took place
Yep.
on, it was Tuesday, right? Tuesday night. So the
Yep.
Lakers played the Nuggets,
Yes.
and I, what a crazy game! What a crazy game!
Yeah.
I'll let you take the lead on this one. It was nuts.
I LeBron's teams, I think, have a tendency to do this. I honestly think, and I don't know that we don't have the stats in front of us, so I'm just recalling off of memory. But LeBron's teams have a tendency to kind of get an emotional high, and then the next game kind of be a dip in terms of performance as a team. And I think that if we were to look back at some of LeBron's teams like fourth quarter comebacks, close game wins, and what happens the game after that, I'm willing to stake money on the fact that LeBron's teams have a losing record after intense wins, because I think that they kind of come back with their chest pumped out a little bit and not really prepared, especially for a team like the Nuggets, to show up and show out the way that they did, and take a game back. So, I mean, triple double LeBron. I wish I had a goat mask with me, like one of our favorites, Shannon Sharp. But triple double LeBron did show up: 30 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists. Um, but I mean, I just think the Nuggets stole this one. Like I think there's no other way to say it.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is, you're not going to get over 20 points from Jeremy Grant every single night.
No, you know.
That is not going to happen. That's I don't even know who to compare it to. Like that's like getting like I don't know, 26 points from Alex Caruso. Like that's not going to happen. It's
Yeah.
not impossible, but it's not going
Well, I mean, I do agree with you, but I will say that while Jeremy Grant had those 20 points, Michael Porter Jr. had a dip in production. So I do think that the Nuggets can set themselves up to lose those points by Jeremy Grant. But man, like I mean, we've been talking. I mean, like I said, like we're kind of reaching that point where we start to talk about the same things because we're just talking about these two series, right? Every episode, but everything kind of hinges on Michael Porter Jr. either having a successful game or not a successful game. And the Nuggets were lucky that, like you said, Jeremy Grant goes off, but Michael Porter Jr. doesn't show up. So you replace Michael Porter Jr. or you replace Jeremy Grant with Michael Porter Jr. I think we're looking at the same situation, the Nuggets winning. But I mean, we say that, and the Murray Jokic combo still goes off for 50 points. Murray specifically, gosh, it's just absolutely ridiculous. 28 points, 8 rebounds, 12 assists in the win. And then Jokic, of course, with his casual 22 points, 10 assists, 5 rebounds, 10 assists from a big man. It Small hot take. Best passing big man of all time?
he's up there. His court vision and basketball IQ is
Is ridiculous.
pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Notably other good passing big men were DeMarcus Cousins, hometown favorite in Sacramento, and also
D-Web?
Also, I was gonna say Vlade Divac and Chris Webber, both
Mhm.
really good passing big men.
Yep.
Um, dude, his passes are pretty crazy. It's like some of them are like Steve Nash-esque, but at
Yes.
6 feet tall, 300 pounds.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
Mhm.
But yeah, Murray, you touched on it. 28 points, 8 rebounds, 12 assists, and two huge closeout three-pointers. One
Yeah.
was this like quick, like Damian Lillard-esque shot over 6'11" Anthony Davis. Like
Yeah.
outstretched arms, just quick release, just nothing but net.
Yeah.
And when he has it going, like he has it going. Like when the ball leaves his hand, like I think it's going in every single time when he's hitting. Like he's reached the Damian Lillard and Steph Curry persona this postseason.
Yeah, and I mean, Kemba's not really helping this case, but so there's only there's only three other point guards to compare him to, but he's easily become the best point guard left in the playoffs, and
Including
he's
LeBron.
including LeBron, um, or excluding LeBron, sorry, but I mean, he's kind of like, I don't know, man. He's kind of exposing himself as maybe a top 5 to 8. I know that's what we were kind of talking about, like maybe top 5 to 8 point guard in the league. Like he just keeps like every single night you think, all right, this is it. That last game was kind of the end of his high, right? But it's like every game he just keeps stacking up big game after big game after big game. So I think that the idea that this is all a stunt, that it's just a phase through these playoffs, I think is over. I think we can officially say that Jamal Murray is here. The Nuggets have their duo of the next 10 years. As long as they can stay together, of course. But
Hmm.
yeah. Alrighty. So, I mean, this has been a back and forth series. Like it, what we said earlier, in this series is still true. Like the Nuggets are scrappy, and like they finally proved it with a win. They finally got that W. Which I think both of us were a little worried that this might have been a sweep, but is this going to turn into a standard gentleman sweep, or did the Nuggets prove that they actually have a chance to take this a little further than 5 games?
Mm, I feel like I've said a billion times, but these playoffs, like anyone can win the
Yeah.
championship. So I think
Yep.
that's what it boils down to, like ultimately. But the Lakers, I think, do take away the gentleman sweep. I think this is just that one fluke game that the Rockets got or that the Nuggets got, and ultimately the Lakers come away with this in five.
Here's what I'll say as my opinion. The Lakers need to win in 5 games because I think that this Nuggets team is just, man, like they're the late 2000s Giants, right? Like they just figure out ways to win. Like those Giants teams that got in the wild card and then like every other year were winning the World Series had no business being in those World Series games. But they just figured out ways to win. And I think the Nuggets are kind of proving themselves to be that same team that just like you give them a chance, you open the door a little bit, and Jokic's big ass body is gonna come barreling through that door and take the win.
Kool-Aid,
So Kool-Aid Man style. So that's what I will say is my prediction. The Lakers need to win this series in 5 games.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, but moving on from the reserves recap, Colin, why don't you give them? Should be no surprise to anybody. But why don't you give them our hot damn stat of the week?
Played a little bit in the bubble as Tyler Herro. Tyler Herro. How about this 20-year-old Herro doing it again for the Heat? Herro lost it, got it back, turns, shoots, and scores. Tyler Herro. Tyler Herro again. Tyler Herro from downtown. Herro. Little Euro step, flips it up and in. Wow. And right on cue, Tyler Herro drills another. Herro feeling it in and out and in again. Herro fires away, puts it in. Tyler Herro drills another three. Herro's got it. Herro drives, reverse, banks it home. Herro, long three-pointer. Bang! Tyler Herro kicking in, feet inside. Herro with a left hand.
Tyler Herro had 37 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 14 of 21 from the field, 5 of 10 from 3, 4 of 4 from the free throw line in 35 minutes. Like, I don't know how much more needs to be said.
Yeah, no, it's a hot damn stat of the week. That's the best stat. Jamal Murray's put up some big numbers, but in that game when they needed him most, like that's definitely well deserving of the hot damn set of the week.
Yeah,
But
I'd elaborate more on it, but I went off like a couple segments ago about it.
yeah, I mean, you guys know how we feel about Tyler Herro at this point. You know how I feel about the Miami Heat. This was a big one, and I mean, you said it last episode. I wouldn't put it past Jimmy Butler to be our next hot damn stat of the week because I think we're still waiting for that big Jimmy game, like you said.
Yeah,
So,
like
but
huge 40 bomb from him.
yep, huge 40 bomb and a big defensive game. I mean, he needs a LeBron-esque block. I think somewhere along this series to really cement himself as a big guy in these playoffs. So
Yeah, I think Bam Adebayo stole that one from him.
stole from everybody. Nobody coming with a bigger block than that one. But moving on from the hot damn, the weekly reserves not star. So we talk all about the highlights and the big games and the big stars, but this player in particular has not shown up for his team on a regular basis, and for that reason, he's awarded the weekly reserves not star, and that is Gary Harris. Averaging 8 points a game, 2 assists, rebounds not even worth mentioning, 39% from the field, 32% from 3. Don't even mention it. That's decent, but not when you're only scoring 8 points. 30 minutes per game, which I think is the biggest stat. How is Gary Harris still averaging 30 minutes a game? Mike Malone is a good coach. He's a smart guy. He's willing to take chances. I said it a couple episodes ago. It wouldn't have surprised me if Gary Harris wasn't on the starting lineup, and he's still just out there not doing anything. I mean, you know better than me. Is he providing anything defensively that you're seeing that's worth keeping him out there?
Yeah, on the defensive side of things, he's kind of similar to Alex Caruso, where he's good at ball denial. But 8 points is like inexcusable for someone on his contract and someone of his caliber that has shown 2 or 3 seasons ago that he can be a consistent 18 to 20 point per game scorer.
Yep.
But I don't know. I tweeted about it and I said that he's like the key to their success. Like I know everyone talks about Michael Porter Jr., but if Gary Harris can just put up 15 a game, like that changes everything defensively.
Yep. I mean, I don't disagree. Pretty sure Harrison Barnes averaged 12 points per game this season. So that means Harrison Barnes was contributing more than Gary Harris is right now.
There you go.
And nice little segue, unintentionally. Why don't we move on to our hot take?
Ah, my hand! That's hot!
This was hot too!
Okay, we're trapped, everyone for himself!
All right. So this week's hot take, Monty McNair being hired by the Sacramento Kings means that Buddy Hield is safe.
I know this isn't necessarily the yay or nay, so I'm not supposed to agree or disagree with our statement. But I disagree with the idea that anybody is super safe based on this McNair hiring.
At least until the deadline. Safe during the offseason.
I do agree with that. I think that if I'm a new GM, I think that the safest bet of me not being fired before the trade deadline is to not make too many moves.
Yeah.
Right away. Right. So like just in terms of like being a new hire, getting to know everybody a little bit, building some rapport with the players. The first thing that you don't want to have to do is, hey, can we set up a meeting with Buddy Hield, come into my office, talk about how I'm going to be trading him next week. Right. So I think just in terms of him being a new hire, yes, Buddy Hield is safe now, but I mean, I honestly think that this is a true hot take because I think that Buddy Hield needs to be unsafe. Like what happened last year, right after Luke Walton put him on the bench, and then he turned into the sixth man. He started producing. So I think that he needs to feel the hot seat a little bit. And if he's not feeling that hot seat at the start of the 2021 season, then I think he's going to be in trouble. So I think he needs that spark under his ass to get him going in the 2021 season. So although I believe that he's safe, I hope that he does not feel safe.
Yeah. The biggest saving grace was that McNair came from the Houston Rockets and is a firm believer in the pace and space. So that being Buddy Hield's bread and butter.
Yep.
Like that for sure, like solidified his role, I think, until at least the deadline that he's going to be safe. Yeah. I could see us moving our draft pick this year before moving him. But like if it was like 2 months ago and it's still Vlade in here, it'd be way different.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I'll throw an extra hot take at you. Does this McNair hiring put the Kings in the playoffs next year?
No.
Yeah.
I think we're still a season away. I mean, anything can change. Like Marvin Bagley can stay healthy for the whole year. I saw some packages out there where it was like the number 12 pick and Corey Joseph or Lonzo Ball. Could be a pick. Pelicans are rumored to move on from Ball, so you never know.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Everybody enjoy those NBA games while we have them. Thanks for listening. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Videos are here, baby. Anything else from Colin before we sign off?
Nothing on my end.
Alrighty. See you guys later.